The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the 11th episode of the SCU show. I'm your host, SCU. It's a great night. I'm pumped for tonight's show. It's going to be a good. We've been on a roll the last few weeks. It's been past 4 or 5 weeks. I'm pretty sure we've been on it. We've been killing it on the show, and I'm liking it. And there's a lot of things I'm not liking tonight that we will go over. There's a couple of things that I do not like that we will go over tonight. A couple. But I want to start with what I do like. And I do like the New York Giants. Hey, I'm a Cowboys fan, I know. Cowboys fans can listen to this and be like, what are you doing? You can't like the Giants. Let's take the fandom out of this, why don't we? Let's take the fandom out of here. I am a radio personality, future sports guy. I'm not a typical fan who's going to hate on the Giants because of the Giants. No. Don't work like that. New York Giants are serious contenders. Like, they are so serious contenders. So serious contenders for the Super Bowl title next year. All they really need is a run game. I'm serious. Now, I wrote an article on this last offseason, on my personal blog, SCU3.blogspot.com, which will eventually become StephenR.com. I wrote how the Giants, last season, they were serious contenders for Super Bowl 51. You know, they had OBJ, Eli Manning, Odell Beckham Jr., rookie Sterling Shepard had impressed me, and I had very high hopes for Paul Perkins coming out of UCLA. Very high hopes for Paul Perkins coming out of UCLA. Lo and behold, the Giants did well last season. There was just a couple of things standing in the way that caused them to miss out on Super Bowl 51. The first thing was Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Dak and Zeke ran through the NFL. Yes, the Giants were the Cowboys' kryptonite, per se. But outside of the Giants, nobody beat Dak Prescott. Nobody beat Ezekiel Elliott last year. Not even the Stellars, the Pittsburgh Stellars, could beat the Cowboys in Heinz Field. And I tell you, when I watched that game, my friend Corey up in New Jersey on my trip, I knew, and I hate to say it, but I knew, we're in Pittsburgh, it's a 4 o'clock game, Joe Buck is on the call, we are losing this game. Lo and behold, 9 seconds left, Ezekiel Elliott right up the middle for the game-winning score. Thing of beauty. I'm going off track, a little off track here. The Giants, outside of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, were one big thing, keeping the Giants from a serious playoff race. Because they couldn't win the AFC East because the Cowboys are so good. They played so well. Nobody could beat them except the Giants and the Eagles because Dak and Zeke didn't play the final game. But that's another story for another time. Second thing, it had to have been the run game. Like I said, high hopes for Paul Perkins. I was very happy with the Giants. The Giants had drafted him, and I was like, uh-oh, watch out. And if here comes this guy, he's going to be good. He's going to be real good. Oh, 456 rushing yards. Oh, wow. 112 carries. Ouch. 4.1 yards per carry. Stings. Yikes. I'm really hoping that in 2017 that comes better. I really think he could do better. I mean, come on. You saw him play ACL. He was a great running back. So why wouldn't he be able to do better? What is keeping him from doing better? Pretty sure the Giants. I don't pay attention to the Giants like I do the Cowboys, but I'm pretty sure the Giants have fixed up their offensive line a little bit. And there you have it. Paul Perkins rushed for 1,000 yards. It's possible, even if he comes close. The Giants are winning the NFC East, and they can make a serious run of the playoffs. The Cowboys on Dak and Zeke. It wasn't all on. It was okay. A lot of it was on Dak and Zeke for the Cowboys last year. But what about that defense, though? The Cowboys' defense played last year better than I had ever seen them. And I've been watching the NFL for 10 years. Like full-time 10 years. Never seen the Cowboys' defense that good. Never. Now, Morris Claiborne is gone. Barry Church is gone. Our secondary has disappeared. Gone to Baltimore, the Jets, the Jaguars. Doug Free and another one of the offensive line guys retired. So as of right now, that spells a little trouble for Zeke. It means a lot of the work will be on Dak. I'm look for an article later this week from rscnreport.com on that. How a lot of the work will be on on Dak in 2017. Assuming things go the way I think they will in Dallas. So with the fact that Zeke might not rush for 1,000 yards next year, let alone 1,631 yards again, with the defense being gone, like there is no more secondary for Dallas, the Giants are in the driver's seat to win the NFC East next year. So there's that. And then you look at who they would play. Falcons, they'll be a good team. They're going to be a great team. But last time the Giants faced the Falcons, they scored 2 points. Doesn't seem like a pitch for threat. What about Green Bay? Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. He has a stacked team. Their defense isn't beating OBJ. The defense is not beating. I don't think they can beat Sterling Shepard. Green Bay's defense will stand a chance against the Giants' defense. Offense, excuse me. And then look at the Giants' defense. Forget about it. Rodgers is going to be on his back the whole game if the Giants want to play the Packers in the playoffs. Then you get to the Super Bowl. And I do think it will be Patriots. The Patriots will win the AFC just because Tom Brady. Because of the team they have. But I would really like to see the Steelers and the Giants in the Super Bowl. That would be great to see. And I wrote an article about this from MusketFire.com, the Patriots fan-sided blog. The Steelers are the biggest threat to the Patriots next season, not the Raiders. The Raiders are Derek Carr. The only guy on their defense that's good enough to be recognized is Khalil Mack. I don't know much about the Raiders. I don't know much about the secondary, but I can't think of one game the guy in the secondary that's impressive. All I could think was Khalil Mack on defense. You could do great on offense all you want, Oakland. But if your defense isn't helping you out, sorry. So I do feel I would like to see the Steelers and the Giants. That would be an awesome game to watch. But I do feel like it would be the Patriots. Yeah, I know. I am no fan either of rematch. I mean, Cavs Warriors 4 coming 2018. Yeah, it's gonna be something like, oh my God, can we stop this already? Well, don't worry about that, ladies and gentlemen. You won't have to worry about Cavs Warriors 5. For more on that, listen to the latest episode before this one of the SCU show. You'll know what I'm talking about. Pacers Giants 3. But it's pretty much, I don't want to say it's a done deal, but it's about 50% there. 50% of the way there. Barring any injuries from the Giants, there's a 50% chance they meet the Patriots up in Minnesota, February 4th, 2018, on NBC. Al Michael voice. I love Al Michael's voice, but anyway. Now, do I give the Giants a chance against New England? Slightly. There's a slight chance the Giants wind up beating the Patriots for the third time. I mean, the Patriots' run game has lost its biggest player. LeGarrette Blount went to the Eagles. That could be a disadvantage for them playing against the Giants. So, good to have you in today. Thank you for listening to this podcast, this episode of the SCU show. Whether you're listening on W2Net.com, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play, and wherever producer Sean Gomer posts this podcast. Thank you for listening. Again, Paul, and I know I'm saying his last name wrong, Paul Jackiewicz, editor of tongue-tied tonight. BloggingBigBlue.com, editor of Toro Times, the Houston Texans fan-sided blog, joins us in about 8 minutes. Yeah, we're going to talk a little Deshaun Watson. You already know that's it's not big news, and I know our W2NF staff have been telling me keep it timely, but Deshaun Watson is a big name, and I'm talking to a Texans guy. I got to figure out what he thinks about Deshaun Watson. But no, so I started off the show by saying I don't believe in a lot of things. I'm not buying a few things. I said a few weeks back I'm not buying a few things. And once again, I'm not buying something else, and that is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jimmy Butler went to the Minnesota Timberwolves in a trade, and the Chicago Bulls got Zach Levine and a couple other players. Now, once again, everybody's saying, "Oh my God, watch out for the Timberwolves." Hold on, hey, hold your horses there. Hold on there, Jethro. Whatever you want to say. The T-Wolves last year, and I bought into them last offseason. Right before the season started, I said, watch out for the Timberwolves. I wrote an article about it for a blog. Last season, Zach Levine, dunk champion. Andrew Wiggins, big name. Karl Anthony Towns, everybody loves him. Ricky Rubio, a name you should know. So they got these guys on this team, and they're pretty big names, right? They're pretty big names. So why is it that the Timberwolves could only pull up 31 wins? And what, you think because Jimmy Butler's on your team is any better? Don't make me laugh. Oh man, Jimmy Butler was on a mediocre Bulls team. Yeah, they almost beat the Celtics, and I'll get to them in a second. But the Bulls with D Wade. Another team I bought into last year. I'm not buying into the Bulls anymore either. Because they couldn't win with D-Wade, Rajon Rondo, who I like, Jimmy Butler, and I believe they have Carlos Boozer. Not Carlos Boozer. I can't remember his name. But it comes to me, I'll tell you. But right now, it's not coming to me. Bulls finish 8th seed with that team. Only because the Heat were too little too late. Just a little bit too late. A little too late. Had the Heat not started 11:30, the Bulls would never make the playoffs last year. So, like I said, I'm not buying into the Celtics either. Not buying into T-Wolves. I'm not buying into a lot of NBA teams for next year. The super teams. I mean, you heard a lot of people talking about how the NBA is building super teams. I don't buy into these super teams until I see them. I bought into the T-Wolves last year. I'm not buying into the T-Wolves this year. I didn't really buy into. I bought into the. I did. I bought into the Celtics last year because they had Isaiah Thomas, Al Horford, and a couple other guys that I was like, uh-oh, watch out, LeBron. Here they come. Yeah, they almost lost the opening series to the Bulls, like I mentioned. An 8th seed. Not only did they almost lose to the Bulls, an 8th seed, they lost the first 2 games at home. How do you let that happen? Normally, in a 7-game series, you lose the first 2 games at home, it's over. And I said it was over. Of course, the Celtics found the hottest streak of luck in the NBA last season. Excuse me. Of course, the Celtics found the luckiest streak in the NBA postseason last year. They won 4 straight games. 2 in Chicago, 2 in Boston. But the only reason they got the 1 seed last year was because LeBron was burned out. LeBron got burned out toward the end of the season, carrying his Cavs team. Only reason they didn't get the 1 seed. The Celtics took advantage of that. Yeah, I'm not buying. And another thing, not buying into Isaiah Thomas either. Yeah, Isaiah Thomas did great last year. He's also, 5'9"? He's a munchkin compared to other NBA players. He's a munchkin. I really do not think he's going to put up the same numbers. I just don't. I'm not buying into it. So now that the Celtics are no longer a big threat, and it's ironic, as I record this episode, and I'm talking about this right now, the New Day come on SmackDown Live. But anyway, now that the Celtics, the only possible competition for Cleveland last postseason, there's no longer competition for Cleveland, and I'm sure Sean's going to listen to me saying this while watching SmackDown Live on his television. Who is competition for the Cavs next year? Who? I tell you who. There's only one team that I can see competing with Cleveland in the East next year. Miami. Yeah. The Miami Heat, who went from 11-30 to half a game out of the playoff race, are the only team I see next year competing with the Cavs. There's no other competition in the East. The Raptors, they got blown out twice. I believe they got swept 2 years in a row by the Cavs in the playoffs. And now Kyle Lowry is reportedly on his way out. So, not buying into it. Of course, do you think the Heat could really beat LeBron James? LeBron James is the greatest leader in NBA history. He might not be the GOAT, but he's the greatest leader. So, you think he's going to lose to the Heat in 7 games? No. He's not. The Heat could take LeBron to 7 games. He will not beat LeBron in 7 games. And I remember my former CEO, Andrew Powell, always said this when we covered Miami sports. Heat Cavs 7-game series. Well, we're back at it. That's good, right? I doubt Andrew listens to this podcast because him and I no longer talk and haven't talked in a couple of years. He could easily take Cleveland to 7 games. Heat are not beating Cleveland in 7 games, though. And like I said it last week, I'm saying it this week, we are in for Cavs Warriors 4 in 2018. Coming up next, Paul Jackiewicz, owner of blogging BigBlue.com and editor of the Toro Times, joins us. SCU Show.
Hello to all you Arena League football fans out there. I want to personally welcome you to join us, AFL Fan Zone, every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a weekly recap of all things AFL. You got stuff to do on the weekends, which means you probably don't have time to sit down and watch every single game every week. That's where AFL Fan Zone comes in. Not only do we break down the week, but we provide you with everything you need to stay up to date with the AFL, including Players of the Week, Power Rankings, and the weekly standings. Best part is, the recap is fully interactive between the viewers and the host. Just search AFL Fan Zone on YouTube and you can find all of our archived videos, including game previews, recaps, and weekly updates. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and at our website at www.aflfanzone.com. AFL Fan Zone, your internet home for the best AFL fans.
Hi, I'm Donovan James, and welcome to the Don James High School Football Report, everybody, where we discuss and debate the hottest prep and college football recruiting topics in the country every week. Only here on NGSC Sports, 9:30 Eastern. For more, follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports.
It's game time, boys, and we know football. Football the Max is the podcast for you if you want in-depth analysis over the NFL and college football. We preview all the action coming your way over the weekend. And we break down all the big action after it's happened. Plus, we tackle all the big news topics and discuss everything when it comes to the gridiron. So come check out Football to the Max every Tuesday morning and Friday morning on the W2M network.
Are you an arena football fan looking for the latest news involving your team? Inside the Arena has you covered. Check us out for the latest news around both the Arena Football League and the Chinese Arena Football League. Read all of our stellar articles at InsideTheArena.org. Also, follow us on Twitter at Inside_Arena and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/InsideTheArena.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the SCU Show. I'm your host, SCU. Now joining us, Paul Jackiewicz. I knew I said his last name wrong earlier. Owner of BloggingBigBlue.com and editor of the Toro Times, the Houston Texans fan-sided blog. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Jackiewicz? Is he on? Are you there, Mr. Jackiewicz?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, there you are. Okay.
How
are you
sorry.
doing?
It was muted by accident. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So I want to start off by talking about the Giants, because that's what I talked about throughout the show. So I said the Giants, and I'm buying the Giants in 20. I bought them last year. I wrote an article about this in my personal blog about how they were serious contenders for Super Bowl 51. Mm-hmm. Of course, nobody expected Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott to run the NFL and go 13-3 and win the division. This year, I'm buying him again. I feel Paul Perkins is a 1,000-yard season away from bringing the Giants to the Super Bowl. How far do you feel the Giants are away from their 5th Super Bowl title?
I could see them as a team that sneaks up as a Super Bowl team, but it all depends on their offensive line. And last year was a huge surprise offensively how bad they were throwing the ball. Because the year before, they were putting up huge numbers. I'll never forget the year before, their defense was so bad. They had that game against the Saints where it's like whoever was going to score last was going to win. They each put up, I think, over 40
yeah, I remember
points.
That.
And then the next year, it's like the Giants, they couldn't even reach 20 points a game, which is terrible. In the NFL, you have to score at least 20, 21 points a game, then you have a chance to win. It was like night and day. It was just a surprise. Obviously, Eric Flowers was worse. They didn't really have a right tackle either. So it all depends on the offensive line, because if they can get their offense is probably better. With their weapons, offense is better this coming season than in 2015 when they kept putting up all those numbers and putting up all those points. They're better probably offensively, I think. I think even that year, Rashad Jennings in 2015 wasn't. I was calling for him to be cut then. Even this last year he was even worse. And, I agree. I think Perkins will be an upgrade. I don't know if Perkins will get 1,000 yards. I don't know if he needs to. Again, with all the weapons they have, Evan Ingram now, got Sterling Shepard, you got Brandon Marshall, Odell Beckham, of course. I would be surprised if they get a 1,000-yard rusher. I could see him maybe getting 800-900 yards. I think he'll split some carries, even possibly with rookie Wayne Gallman. But I agree with you. I think they're a Super Bowl team, a contender. But their biggest glaring question mark right now is that offensive line, especially Eric Flowers at left tackle. I felt like they could get by with their right tackle last year, whoever that was, whether it was Marshall Newhouse at the time or Bobby Hart. It was just Flowers was getting beat. It was horrible last year how bad he was. So, yeah, they'll be a contender, but it depends really on that left side of that line.
Yeah, I said the same thing earlier tonight, that the reason Paul Perkins had, 456 rushing yards was because of the offensive line. Now, I don't follow the Giants. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I got to root against my Giants. But you have a Giants website, so I'm going to ask you. You probably know this. Have the Giants upgraded their offensive line in any way since the season ended?
Well, they signed DJ Fluker, which I thought was a solid signing. I really wish they had let Jason Pierre-Paul go and sign it. You could say overpay for a left tackle because teams are overpaying for them in free agency. Wow. And the reason being is I don't think Pierre-Paul is a great player. I just don't.
Wow.
I think he was a few years ago. He's still not a great player. And I know sack numbers are not everything. And some Giants fans, they got real mad at me on Twitter. Call me names and stuff. And I'm like, the guy, as a pass rusher, he's not a premier pass rusher. Yeah, he's very good against the run. He's a good all around player. But to pay him what they paid him, and he can't. Then my biggest issue is his health. If he, that's my big. He couldn't even finish last season, and it's, the hand thing's a whole other thing. I think he can play fine without his fingers or whatever. I think he's fine with that. I think he's good enough. But yeah, just health wise, last year he missed the last 5 games or so. And even before the hand injury, the incident, he that year before. He put up his biggest numbers against bad teams. And again this year, he did the same thing, bad teams. I want to see him show up against teams like the Cowboys. I want to see him get a tip pass for an interception, return it like he did against the Browns, against the Cowboys, not against, against the Browns.
Sure.
So I want to see him show up. But hey, they overpaid for him, in my opinion. They overpaid for him. I would rather have seen him get a left tackle. They upgraded. They got Fluker, who will probably battle for the right guard position if he doesn't do well, or maybe they'd rather, or does well enough, they put him at right tackle. I think there's a good chance Fluker starts this year, whether it's right guard or right tackle. That's really the only guy that you could say they really got as an upgrade. Another guy that's interesting is a rookie, Chad Wheeler from USC. They got him as an undrafted player. He supposedly he's a talented player, possibly could have gone in the 3rd or 4th round, I think. But there's off-the-field concerns, so maybe he's like a dark horse guy that has a chance to start. Again, with the talent they have on their offensive line, didn't really make any huge upgrades. You never know who's going to start on the right side, right tackle. But never know significant upgrades, but the one to watch out for is Fluker.
That was a very, very bold. I was not expecting that. Jason Pierre-Paul is not a great player. I'm going to have to remember that. That is big. That was very big. Paul Jackiewicz, owner of blogging BigBlue.com and editor of the Toro Times, joining us here on the SCU show. Now, I know I'm not worried about OBJ. He scored, 12 touchdowns in 12 games his first year, and he has not fallen off the rocker yet.
No.
So I'm not worried about him for next year. Now, then there's Sterling Shepard. He did pretty well last year, sure. But there's the curse notice, the sophomore slump. Do you feel that Sterling Shepard will get his numbers up, or he'll suffer the sophomore slump?
I think he could have a decrease in numbers, not because of a sophomore slump, but because of adding weapons. Last year, Victor Cruz was on the outside. I like Victor Cruz, but his time was up. I don't know if he's the same player, but they no longer needed him as a slot receiver because of Shepard, and he's not an outside receiver, so I think that had something to do with him kind of falling off a little bit last year. But now they have a good second receiver, Brandon Marshall, and of course you got Beckham. You got Evan Ingram. So I think his numbers will go down or possibly maybe stay around the same. I don't expect him to have a better year. In fantasy, I wouldn't touch him just because they have too many weapons. I wouldn't, unless you're in a deep league, I wouldn't touch him. But yeah, I think he's going to make he'll make some big plays for them, but I wouldn't expect a big season number wise. Maybe a 400-500 yards receiving, if that, maybe like 2-3 touchdowns. But other than that, again, with all the players around him, Eli Manning's going to be spreading the ball around, and Eli Manning has no problem doing it if he has guys that can handle it.
Yeah, Eli Manning has. I totally forgot about Brandon Marshall. I don't know how I forgot about him. He goes from one side of New York to the other side of New York.
Right.
He was the Jets last year. With Eric Decker gone, he did pretty well. Ryan Fitzpatrick just screwed up for the Jets. Now he's going to be gone. The Jets are a whole different story from the Giants. Yeah. The Giants are the best team in New York right now. So before I brought you on, I talked about the Giants' playoff run, and I talked about people might think the Cowboys are the biggest threat. Well, they have no secondary. They can't beat that just on receivers. And there's Atlanta. Last time that they bet the Falcons scored 2 points. Yeah. So I'm not expecting anything there. And Green Bay has bad luck in the playoffs. Who do you think is the Giants' biggest threat in the NFC this year?
It's a good question. So I think you have to think about Seattle. They're still a heck of a team.
Oh, yes.
Seattle, who else? The Cowboys will be tough, but the thing about the Cowboys, and their offense is just great. I like their pick. I like them. I like that they got Switzer. I thought he was a good pick for them.
Oh, yes, Ryan Switzer's going to be amazing.
Even though he's another Cole Beasley, but I'm sure they'll figure another way out to use him or something. Maybe he can play on the outside. I don't know, but I like that pick. I really liked him. Yeah, I like the Cowboys. Their offense is great. The line is great, but their defense is the biggest issue. I do think Dak Prescott will fall off a little bit. I don't think he's going to be terrible, but I don't expect him to tear up the league the way he did last year, this year, just because he's a second-year player. Teams have film on him. But the Cowboys, you never know you never know between the Cowboys and Giants, just because it's the divisional, it's a division game. You just never know. But the Cowboys, their biggest weakness is the defense. They made some improvements, but like you said, the secondary is definitely in question. But I can see the Cowboys giving the Giants a hard time. I wouldn't expect the Cowboys to sweep them, but I could see them splitting it 1-1 this year. Who knows? And I think they're the best two teams, clearly, I think, in the division. But the Cowboys, the Seahawks they're probably still the number one team in the conference, even ahead of the Falcons. It's going to be so tough for the Falcons to bounce back after that meltdown.
Yes.
I mean, if they can somehow bounce back, sure. I mean, they were a Super Bowl team last year. Should have won that game. Should have, but just so they're another team. I'm not going to rule them out, the Falcons, as a team that is going to contend for Super Bowl. Not till I see what they can do in the regular season, and maybe the Panthers bounce back. They're still a talented team. Christian McCaffrey was a great pick for them. So I think those are the teams right now I could think of. Panthers. The Packers again, though, too. Their offenses, they're like the Cowboys, the Packers. Very good offense. Defense, just can't get it, just struggle with that defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
But still, their offenses are so good, you can't count them out. So, yeah.
Yeah, you said a lot of things that I said earlier in the show. The Cowboys' defense is not good enough to beat the Giants. I said something about Green Bay, about how their defense is it's iffy. It's not the best defense. So, great minds think alike here on the SCU show. Paul Jackiewicz, blogger, owner of bloggingBigBlue.com, editor of Toro Times, joining us. One more question about the Giants. We talked, you mentioned Evan Engram. I feel like he's the second best tight end. Would you, now, if I was a Giants fan, of course I would rather O.J. Howard. I feel like he was the better tight end.
Sure.
Would you prefer O.J. Howard over Evan Engram?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. I think blocking tight ends like Howard he's a better player because he can do everything. He's a good all around, great at everything. But you think about the NFL, most great tight ends, even Tony Gonzalez, they were terrible blockers. And it's just the way it is. It's very hard to find a great all around tight end. The Giants, though, are just one of those teams over the years. They've been so stubborn with that. Like, they don't care. You've seen it in the past. They have Will Tye, they had Larry Donnell, some bad, average players. But they're playing just because they're very good at blocking, whereas especially O'Donnell or Donnell was very good at blocking. Yep. But he really couldn't catch, So, but I think the Giants, Ben McAdoo is I think he talked to front office and Jerry Reese into getting a guy like Ingram, who's not, I don't think he's a terrible blocker, but that's not his strongest thing. But, hey, he's more of a receiving weapon because, hey, he fits their offense more. So I like it because I think he's more of a deep threat probably than Howard, where Howard maybe could stretch the field a little bit, but I think Ingram, with his speed, it's like having another receiver. So either way, I would have been happy, but, hey, they got Ingram, and I'm excited to see what he can do because of his speed and his athleticism.
Yeah, Evan Engram is a great tight end. I like watching him at Ole Miss. I feel like Eli Manning's going to go to him, not as much as he might go to OBJ, but he's going to go to him a lot. He's going to expect a lot of passes thrown Evan Ingram's way in 2017 for the Giants. So now we switch over to the Houston Texans. You are the editor of Toro Times, the Houston Texans fan-sided blog. And the Texans might have possibly gotten the biggest steal in the first round of the 2017 NFL Draft as they picked Deshaun Watson at the 12th pick. And I don't know their third string. I do know Tom Savage is their second quarterback. I don't know who the third one is.
Brandon Weeden.
Oh, of course. How could I forget? I wrote an article about that last offseason, too. But Brandon Weeden's pretty much out of the picture. He's not going to win the starting job. It's going to be Tom Savage, who, just ask, who's Tom Savage? I mean, what's this guy done?
Right.
And then you have Deshaun Watson, who won a national title over Nick Saban. So, I mean, Deshaun Watson has to win the starting job, right?
Well, I don't think he will. Not because he's not good enough. I just don't think the Texans want to rush him. And supposedly Tom Savage has looked really good in the offseason, but, well, I don't know. A lot of people, I was going to say myself, but maybe not. A lot of people could look good playing football with shorts on and no shoulder pads and no contact.
Sure.
So let's wait to see how he looks in the preseason. It's still, I think he still has a chance, but I think the edge goes to Savage right now. And I wrote today, I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Weeden ends up starting some games, not because he's better than all the other two, but hey, if Savage somehow bombs or melts down or gets hurt and Watson's not ready, I think they'd be comfortable. I think Bill O'Brien would be comfortable putting Weeden in. I mean, look at his team over the past few years, the quarterbacks he's had start. It's like, oh my gosh, these guys are terrible. So I could see him starting a guy like Weeden. I wouldn't rule that out. Not because, again, he's going to win the job, but I think Savage will win it. But I think there's a good chance Weeden or even Watson could start at some point this season.
It's an interesting take. All right, I believe this is my last question. Paul Jackiewicz, owner of bloggingBigBlue.com. I have having tongue twisters all night. Editor of the Toro Times joining us. Last question. I said this last week on the SCU show that the Titans signed Eric Decker. There is now no excuse for them to not win the AFC South. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Do you feel there could possibly be a way the Texans outlast the Titans to win the AFC South in 2017?
I do. I think the Titans are probably their toughest opponent in the division. Colts are probably third best team. Of course, Jacksonville probably fourth. But yeah, I do. The Texans, they have some offensive line issues like the Giants, but they may not be in as bad of a situation as New York, but definitely because they have a left tackle. So I think the big question with the Texans is quarterback play. And let's be honest, they went 9-7 with Osweiler. I think they went 9-7 the year before with whoever their quarterback was. It was Hoyer, I believe. But who may not be better than a guy like Tom Savage or even Deshaun Watson. Well, we know Osweiler's not as good as Savage and even probably Watson, but I think the Texans can outlast them just because their big question is quarterback play, and they don't need great quarterback play. They just need good quarterback play, and I think they're gonna be a pound it, run it first team, no matter who's under center, and that's how they're gonna set up the pass. And I think Lamar Miller's gonna have a good season. He's a very good all around back, and I like the addition of Deontay Foreman. So I think the Titans have a chance, but I'm going to give the edge to the Texans right now just because overall their team is just they're the best team in that division overall, despite the uncertainty at quarterback right now.
Paul Jackiewicz, owner of bloggingBigBlue.com, editor of the Toro Times, the Houston Texans fan-sided blog, comes on the show and just kills it with his Pierre Paul take. Wow, that was the big one, but a lot of great things said by you, Mr. Jackiewicz. I appreciate you very much for coming on the SCU show. We'll have to talk again real soon. Thank you.
No problem. All right, take care.
All right, we will be right back to wrap the show up, SCU show.
Hello to all you Arena League football fans out there. I want to personally welcome you to join us, AFL Fan Zone, every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a weekly recap of all things AFL. You got stuff to do on the weekends, which means you probably don't have time to sit down and watch every single game every week. That's where AFL Fan Zone comes in. Not only do we break down the week, but we provide you with everything you need to stay up to date with the AFL, including Players of the Week, Power Rankings, and the weekly standings. Best part is, the recap is fully interactive between the viewers and the host. Just search AFL Fan Zone on YouTube and you can find all of our archived videos, including game previews, recaps, and weekly updates. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and at our website at www.aflfanzone.com. AFL Fan Zone, your internet home for the best AFL fans.
Hi, I'm Donovan James, and welcome to the Don James High School Football Report, everybody, where we discuss and debate the hottest prep and college football recruiting topics in the country every week. Only here on NGSC Sports, 9:30 Eastern. For more, follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports.
It's game time, boys, and we know football. Football to the Max is the podcast for you if you want in-depth analysis over the NFL and college football. We preview all the action coming your way over the weekend. And we break down all the big action after it's happened. Plus, we tackle all the big news topics and discuss everything when it comes to the gridiron. So come check out Football to the Max every Tuesday morning and Friday morning on the W2M network.
Are you an arena football fan looking for the latest news involving your team? Inside the Arena has you covered. Check us out for the latest news around both the Arena Football League and the Chinese Arena Football League. Read all of our stellar articles at InsideTheArena.org. Also, follow us on Twitter at Inside_Arena and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/InsideTheArena.
Welcome back, SCU Show. I'm your host, SCU. That was the best interview I've done, I think, ever. Paul Jackiewicz just came on and killed it. Oh my God. That was so great. I can't wait to have him on again. But now we move on to the final topic of the night. And it's big. It is huge. This is huge. Like, Fox Sports has cut their... I don't know how to explain it. Like, they are no longer going to our articles. That's pretty much how it is. Fox Sports has fired every one of the writers, and they will no longer provide written content on their website. That is huge. When you think about the newspaper being a dying business, that's huge. And everyone thinking, oh, we got it online now. And then Fox Sports goes and does that. They go ahead and cut their written content online. That's huge for journalism everywhere. Huge. For everybody. That is wow, that is big. Fox Sports is I believe, the leader in all sports journalism right now over ESPN. And I talked about that a few weeks ago. Go ahead and check it out. WTNet.com/the SCU show. It's on one of my podcasts. This is the first step in the dawning of a new era in journalism. You know, I tell myself all the time, in 10 years from now, I'll be living in Los Angeles. I'm going to have, I have a big ego. Just leave it at that. But anyway, so I say that. And in 10 years, I also say there will be no more writing in journalism. The thing we know is journalism today will be no longer. We know more. It'll be gone. And our W2F staff asked me this when I pitched this idea to them for my show tonight. Do you think other networks will go ahead and do this as well? Well, of course they will. The big ones will. They're going to realize, because the big ones are run by radio and TV these days. ESPN, Mike and Mike, Dan Le Batard. Highly questionable. Sports Center. First Take. There's no written content over there. How many times do you see an article, a guy that writes an article for ESPN.com go on Sports Center? Once in a blue moon. If you don't think ESPN's going to cut their writing, I think they're going to be next. They're going to be next to cut. Oh, they've already laid off so many people that because of Disney's thing, the thing with Disney. But anyway, ESPN, I feel, will be next. They are going to be the next big sports organization, journalism organization, to cut their writers. No more writing. ESPN will be TV, radio, video. That's it. And by the time, and in 10 years, if I am right, in 10 years, if I'm right and there is no more writing in journalism, there's going to be 4 big name sports journalism companies that everybody will want to work for. 4. Fox Sports, ESPN, NBC Sports, and CBS Sports. CBS Sports is a little questionable because a lot of their stuff is online, a lot of writing. But they do have their own channel, CBS Sports Network, so I give it to them. I almost said they had Doug Gottlieb, but he's now with Fox Sports. A lot of things just questioning that maybe CBS won't be as... I mean, CBS is already not as big as NBC and Fox Sports. NBC Sports has their own channel. They do a lot of different TV and radio stuff. Plus all their affiliates. The one affiliate I know of is NBC 1060 AM down in Phoenix, Arizona, because of a former colleague of mine. And because of this guy that runs something called The Fan Show. But that's another story for another time. ESPN, though, I mean, they're already pretty much ready to get rid of all their writers and delete all the articles from their website. I don't know if that's what Fox did. I don't know. But I mean, I know Fox cut their written content. I don't know if they've deleted all the articles off the website yet. As for ESPN, I feel like they're next. NBC Sports will follow suit, followed by CBS Sports. And that's going to be it. Those are going to be the 4 big guys. Then I'll give you 3 big guys that they're just going to go. They're going to be extinct in 10 years. Number 1 is the big one, Sports Illustrated. They are so gone. Sports Illustrated does everything a Sports Illustrated does, except for SI Now, is writing. Everything is writing. I mean, their main thing is magazines. Next to newspapers, magazines is dying. It's the biggest failure in sports journalism today. It's failing. Newspapers is number 1. Magazines follow suit. And Sports Illustrated is all about their magazines. So they're going, goodbye, dunzo. 2, fan-sided. It has nothing to do with that was created by fans for fans. None of that. None of that matters. A lot of these websites today are created by fans for fans. Fan-sided just wound up being lucky and get the blue check on Twitter. They have no video. Everything fan-sided does is article. Everything they do is article. They're gone. I do like the fact that they have not just one big website. They have team websites. They have league websites. Different aspects. I find that amazing. But unfortunately, with the way journalism is moving, that'll be gone in 10 years' time. And the third one I could tell you is SB Nation. SB Nation is they're pretty much like the little brother of Fansided. Because I feel like Fansided is more exclusive than SB Nation. Even though SB Nation has had their stuff on television. They've got recognition from ESPN and Fox Sports and all these big guys. A lot of writing. Yeah, they have SB Nation Radio. Those are podcasts. Podcasts don't get you anywhere. You could put on your resume, you hosted a podcast, which if you're like me, I'm going to put this on my resume, obviously. I did a podcast for a blank amount of years in order to become a sports radio guy. But the big thing is when I get back onto actual radio waves. That's going to be weird. That's going to be the big thing right there. That's where the coup de grace. It's the coup de grace right there. That's where it's all coming from. So look out, ladies and gentlemen. 10 years. I give it 10 years. ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, and CBS Sports are the big dogs in sports journalism due to the fact that written content is going away.
Hold on, I want to butt in here for a second.
All right, here comes Sean Garmer.
I think you're missing the boat here on the whole. Yes, podcast, unless you are able to cultivate a large audience and, get that going for yourself, which I know many people that have. If you haven't noticed, almost all radio stuff now has a podcast or some kind of on-demand thing. That's because a lot of people don't listen to live radio anymore because they have to deal with commercials or they have to deal with morning talk or whatever that they don't want to listen to. They want to be able to have a podcast of that show whenever they want to.
I mean,
So,
I get what you're... No, I understand where you're coming from. But you also understand, where does that podcast originate from? Like most big podcasts originate from? A microphone. Like, I don't know how you do it with you do a lot of podcasts. I know that.
Right.
Me, I use my earbuds. And it's not like I'm in front of a microphone in a studio. That's
Right.
what I'm thinking. That's what I'm saying. Like, recording a podcast like this,
Yeah.
it's not as big as recording in front of a microphone. Having it recorded
well, yeah, definitely. I mean,
and then putting on a podcast.
and obviously the ultimate is getting to do what Colin Cowherd does, or maybe
Exactly.
other guy is have your radio show on TV.
Exactly. Yes.
you know.
You hit the nail on the head, Sean.
That's still video, right? They want to.
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
And that's the thing too, is your podcast usually does better if you have a video that you can
Yeah. That's
attach to
something.
that.
Oh,
But
yes.
you have to deal with, all right, if I do that, is there going to be lag with the audio that they're hearing when they see my video? There's a lot of technical things that go into. That's why we don't do video on our end, because we tried it before and there's lag. So
Right.
Yeah,
I get what you mean.
I'm just saying that I think like podcasts are much more ahead of the curve. In that you're correct in that magazines and newspapers are starting to go. They have been for a long time, but that's why they now have the online resource, so they can match the 24-hour news cycle.
Right, I get that.
We're still there,
Right. Everybody now that the newspapers and magazines are dying, everyone's going online for their written content. But as you saw with Fox Sports, written content's starting to go away online too.
Oh yeah, because it's so much easier for you to record a 5-minute little snippet of, hey, this happened. 5 minutes, you put it up there, you put a little image on top of it, so it's not just a blank thing. And then here you go. It's out there on YouTube or on Fox Sports or whatever, and not, there's people that can write articles in 5 minutes. That's not a bad thing either.
Sure.
But it takes a little bit longer. Like we, for the website that both of us used to, write on.
Sure.
It doesn't matter how quick that guy was at writing. It took him at least 15, 20 minutes to get that article out there. The editor has to go publish it. So it's about 30 minutes, maybe an hour before that gets out there, right?
Right.
Well, if I said, all right, hey, this happened, breaking news, all I got to do is you get on, I hit a record button, 5 minutes, it's out there, bam. So, I think, you know, like you're saying, the video personalities, it's so huge. Like, you know, Skip is probably a bigger personality now
Oh, yes.
than he ever was when he wrote for the Cowboys in, you know, the late 80s, 90s.
Yeah,
you know.
right. It's same thing with Jason Whitlock wrote for the the newspaper in Kansas City. Now he's on FS1. Now everybody knows who he was. Nobody knew who he was when he wrote in Kansas City.
Right. It's, you know, your face is out there. People are going to know you by your face, not necessarily by, you know, words that you put on a page.
Right.
So.
Exactly. So, yeah, that is great insight by Mr. Strong. Producer Sean Garmer. Again, I want to thank Paul Jackiewicz, owner of bloggingBigBlue.com and editor of Toro Times, for joining us. Great interview. I can't wait for this podcast to come out for you all to listen to it. I'm taking off next week for a special project I'm doing, or because of the holiday weekend. We'll see how that goes. But I will return July 11th here on the SCU show. Until then, see ya. SCU show.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.